Welcome to AERO 3630, Introduction to Air Traffic Control. This is presentation 14 on textbook section 14 on search and rescue operations. This presentation will include information on the National Search and Rescue Plan, search and rescue roles and responsibilities, and overdue aircraft procedures. Before we move on, let's look at some search and rescue terms and definitions. Search means an operation using available personnel and facilities to locate persons in distress. And rescue means an operation to retrieve persons in distress, provide for their medical and other needs, and deliver them to a place of safety. Unreported refers to the time when an aircraft should have reported a compulsory reporting point until it is considered overdue, and then overdue describes the aircraft that has failed to report and appropriate time frame has elapsed. Rescue Coordination Center, or RCC, is a search and rescue facility that's equipped and manned to coordinate and control search and rescue operations. The U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. Air Force have responsibility for operation of rescue coordination centers. A search and rescue facility is responsible for operating search and rescue services to render aid to persons and property in distress, and these can include any unit, station, or other operational activity which can be employed during a search and rescue mission, flight service stations, the Civil Air Patrol, squadrons, groups, and wings, the RCCs, the U.S. Coast Guard, and law enforcement agencies. Under the National Search and Rescue Plan, the FAA is responsible for providing the emergency services for aircraft in distress, and the FAA also ensures search and rescue procedures are initiated if an aircraft is deemed overdue or missing, and tries to locate the aircraft through communication search via air traffic control for instrument flight roles and via the flight plan program for visual meteorological conditions, or VFR aircraft. So you can see in this table the facility responsible for VFR, DVFR, or no flight plan filed, and or VFR portion of a composite flight plan is the flight service station. So any aircraft that files a VFR, DVFR flight plan, or does not file a flight plan, or files a composite flight plan with a VFR portion, is the responsibility of the flight service station. If it is an aircraft that filed an IFR flight plan or a special VFR, or there's an IFR portion of a composite flight plan, then the Air Route Traffic Control Center is responsible. So again, flight service stations are responsible for initiation of search and rescue for overdue or missing aircraft that aren't on a flight plan, and for aircraft operating on a VFR flight plan. Air Route Traffic Control Center is responsible for search and rescue for overdue and missing aircraft on an IFR flight plan or a composite VFR IFR flight plan when 30 minutes have elapsed since the pilot requested an IFR clearance and no communications have been received. Aircrafts on a special VFR clearance or an emergency locator transmitter signal is received or reported is also the responsibility of Air Route Traffic Control Centers. Military branches are responsible for coordinating and conducting the physical search and rescue. U.S. Air Force, RCC at Tyndall Air Force Base, located in near Panama City in the Panhandle of Florida, is responsible for coordination of search and rescue within the inland region of the contiguous states. The RCC at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, is responsible for the state of Alaska. And the U.S. Coast Guard, using various stations, are responsible for coordination and conducting search and rescue operations in the maritime regions. In addition, Joint Rescue Coordination Center in Honolulu is responsible for the state of Hawaii and 14 million square miles of Pacific Ocean. INREC, or Information Request, is a request that's originated by the flight service station for information concerning an overdue VFR or defense VFR aircraft. INREC is limited communication search. And if the aircraft isn't found, it's followed by an all not, which is short for alert notice. And that message is transmitted to all air traffic facilities and airports along the aircraft's planned route from the last known position to the destination. The all not is directed to all air traffic control facilities and airports within 50 miles of either side of an aircraft's planned route from the last known position to its destination. All nots are issued by Flight Service Station for VFR, Defense VFR, aircraft following negative results from an NREC. An all not for IFR and special VFR aircraft is issued by Air Route Traffic Control Centers. The search begins with the all not for IFR and special VFR aircraft. And the reason is because IFR, special VFR aircraft are required to be in direct communications with air traffic control. So there's no reason to issue an NREC. Loss of communications with an IFR or special VFR aircraft is considered to be an emergency situation. For a VFR or defense VFR flight plan, it's considered to be overdue 30 minutes after the estimated time of arrival. So communications or location cannot be established until or for that time period. An aircraft that's not on a flight plan is considered overdue at the actual time a reliable source reports the aircraft to be at least 1 hour late at the destination. A reliable source can include family member, business associate, fixed-based operator, company operations, or any other source considered to be reliable. Air traffic control personnel should consider an aircraft to be in an emergency situation and inform the RCC when any of the following things exist. There's an unexpected loss of radar contact or radio communications with any IFR or VFR aircraft. The reports received indicate an aircraft has made a forced landing or is about to do so, or its operating efficiency is impaired and will force it to land in the future. Reports indicate that the crew has abandoned or is about to abandon the aircraft, and an emergency transponder code is displayed or reported. In all of these cases, the air traffic control personnel should consider that an emergency exists. When an aircraft is the responsibility of a terminal facility and is deemed to be in an emergency situation, and may require search and rescue procedures, or if an aircraft is IFR and is overdue, the terminal facility is required to alert the overlying Air Route Traffic Control Center and forward the following information: the aircraft's flight plan, including the color of the aircraft and the type of aircraft if known, the time of last transmission received by whom and the frequency that was used, the last position report, how it was determined, the action taken by reporting facility and proposed action, number of persons on board, the fuel status of the aircraft, the facility working the aircraft and the frequency, the last known position, estimate the present position, and the maximum range of flight of the aircraft based on the remaining fuel and the airspeed, the position of other aircraft near the aircraft's route of flight when requested, whether or not an ELT signal has been heard or reported in the vicinity of the last known position, and any other important information. When it's been determined that an IFR aircraft is overdue and an emergency exists, the Air Route Traffic Control Center is required to alert the appropriate RCC and provide the same information. All knots are distributed to air traffic control facilities and military base operations, which is the military version of an FBO, along the aircraft's known or proposed route of flight. An all knot, which is short for alert notice, is distributed to the FAA Regional Operations Center and also the RCC responsible for the area. And the search area encompasses an area of 50 miles on either side of the proposed route of flight and originates at the aircraft's last reported position to the destination airport. Here's an example of an all knot. An all knot remains in an active status until the aircraft is located, and the RCC suspends the search. The all knot originator, once the aircraft is located, transmits a cancellation message with the location of the aircraft if it was found to all the recipients of the all knot. Air traffic control tower facilities are normally notified by landline. And here's an example of an all knot cancellation. Well, that's the end of presentation 14 on search and rescue operations. You can now proceed to complete quizzes 13 and 14 and start preparing for the final exam.